Good morning, everyone. My name is Jin Xiu from the Faculty of Film, Theater and Animation, UADM. Today, I will present my research titled Ethical Disintegration and Spiritual Crisis in the Shadow of Consumerism, Deterritorialization and Reterritorialization of the Family, in At the End of Daybreak. Let's start with the context. As Francis Law knows, Malaysia has entered a politics of developmentalism, where consumerist habits have penetrated everyday life. Regarding the film At the End of Daybreak, it is often viewed as a crime tragedy, or as the director puts it, a social spectacle. However, my research argues against viewing this merely as an accidental tragedy of individual fate. Instead, I analyze it as a modern allegory. My focus is on the collapse of the ethical order within the families. I aim to show how consumerism as a structural force unsettles traditional values and leaves the younger generation spiritually adrift. To achieve this, I propose a theoretical synthesis that bridges Eastern sociology and Western post-structuralism. First, I use Fei Xiaotong's concept of 差序格局. It means the differential mode of association to define the traditional Chinese ethical order in the family, a stable territory based on hierarchy and blood ties. Second, I introduced Deleuze and Guattari's concepts of deterritorialization and reterritorialization. This allows me to describe how consumerism acts as a fluid, dissolving force. By bringing these two theories into dialogue, we can see how the solid territory of the family is being liquefied by the forces of consumerist ideology. Now I will introduce the first case, tax family. Here, the father is absent, having abandoned the family for a wealthier woman, a surrender to material desire. The mother fills this vacuum with suffocating control rather than care. I will display this visual evidence. We see the 23-year-old Tak shuffling around in his mother's red slippers. This detail is a symbol, suggesting that Tak has no independent territory and is trapped within the maternal imaginary. This is reinforced by the narrative. Throughout the film, the mother exercises a panoptic-like surveillance over Tak. She monitors him and rummages through his personal belongings, treats Tak more like private property than an independent son. The combination of the slippers and the surveillance confirms a morbid mother-son symbiosis, where the son's subjectivity is completely erased. In contrast, Ying's family illustrates the commodification of kinship. The most chilling aspect is not just the financial negotiation, but the mother's complete emotional detachment. After discovering the sexual relationship between Ying and Tak, she ignores her daughter's trauma. Instead, she focused on demanding financial compensation. Amidst this crisis, she continues to chat cheerfully with colleagues. When the traumatized Ying interrupts them, the mother does not offer comfort. Instead, she resorts to violence to silence her. This sequence is brutal. It reveals that the mother has compartmentalized her life. Money is goal. Work is the priority, and the daughter is merely a liability that must be managed or silenced when she disrupts the economic order. This ethical collapse triggers a spiritual crisis externalized through cinematic language. For Tak, the crisis is defined by entrapment. The film opens with the sound of a boiling kettle and a shot of a rat trapped in a cage. Tak pours boiling water onto it. This brutal image mirrors his own trapped, self-destructive psyche. Crucially, this repression is extended through spatial design. The camera repeatedly demonstrates the narrow and oppressive corridor within the home. This visual structure constructs a suffocating domestic environment. It portrays the home not as a warm, secure refuge, but as a site of psychological confinement. Tak is quite literally trapped in the architecture of his mother's control. For Yin, the crisis is one of alienation and moral crisis. The director uses asynchronous sound to depict this. In a key shot, we see the mother's lips moving, but we, the audience, hear only the disconnected pop music from Yin's headphones. This wall of sound visually and orally proves that the channel for communication has been severed. This disconnection breeds a terrifying affective coldness. We see Yin shoplifting in a mall, treating commodities as mere objects to be taken, devoid of moral weight. Even more telling is the bus scene. When she sees an elderly person standing, she deliberately closes her eyes. This gesture is profound. It represents a conscious refusal to engage with the Confucian ethic of respecting old people. Living in a family void of love, she has shut down her senses, blocking her ears to her mother and closing her eyes to society, becoming spiritually numb. Finally, the film moves to the tragic attempt at reterritorialization. Tak and Yin tries to build a new home through their private intimacy. However, this attempt is crushed. The market logic of compensation and statutory rape colonizes their last refuge. This pressure culminates in a horrifying climax. Under the weight of this siege, Tak's psyche implodes in a moment of chaos. He accidentally kills Yin. Following this, we see Tak escapes on his motorcycle, only to end in a violent crash. The film concludes with a haunting image, Tak lying motionless on the ground. This final shot is profound. He is not arrested. He is simply broken, neither in the home he escaped nor in the future he sought. This is the ultimate state of deterritorialized exile. He has been left with absolutely nowhere to stand. To conclude, at the end of Daybreak presents a sobering reality. As my final point summarizes, the tragedy of the film reveals a structural reality. The logic of the market has ruthlessly colonized the logic of affect, dissolving the ethical foundation of Chinese kinship. Okay, that's all the content I want to present. Thank you for your attention.